Grapper, what was we talked about this with Tuna before, but what your experience at Top Gun, was it anything like the movie, or what was it like for you?
I laugh. I get that question all the time. I mean, the flying was like the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was competitive. It was aggressive. It was the best flying, you'll ever get to do in the F-14. It's the first time I really feel like we, really wrung out the airplane the way it was designed to be flown. The briefs were long and intense. The days were long. I think as Tuna said, it was 6.5 days a week of, somewhere between a 14 to 16, 18-hour day. So that part was pretty awesome. As far as the nightlife and all that other stuff, that somebody else said they got to go maybe down to San Diego or something. I don't think
that was the main
doing that.
That was the maintainers.
Not a lot of volleyball then.
Yeah, the
No
maintainers played volleyball.
I think I saw the inside of the officer club one time in the 6 weeks we were there.
Right.
It was just intense flying, but fantastic instructors, great flying. It's just everything you could think about in terms of what you'd want to do with that airplane.
Any interesting?
Well, we did. The pilot I went with was really a good friend of mine, still is today, great pilot. And, the graduation hop there, you go actually from back then, Top Gun was down in San Diego at Miramar. And, you spend a lot of time up in Fallon, up in Nevada. And one of the graduation hops was a 4v32. So 4 friendlies against 32 adversaries. And we had the tech lead and we're running the show, and everything was fantastic. We had everybody targeted. We're doing really well through the
32 of them?
Well, you have your immediate threats, right? You have
right.
targeted correctly, and so you can achieve the mission objectives. And of course, things get a little heated throughout this 4v32 attack, and we're using a little more burner than probably we thought. And in the middle of this thing, of course, I'm looking under 6, looking at the radar, looking all around. And I just hear the pilot just yell over the, intercom. He's like, "Grapper, what's your fuel say?" I'm like, "What? What does your fuel say?" And I look down at my fuel totalizer, and I just go like, "That can't be right. Like, something's wrong." And he's like,
No.
I said 600 pounds. And he's like, "Shit."
Holy shit.
So, that was. So of course, for the guys that are uninitiated, 600 pounds is not a lot of gas, especially when you're burning the Tomcat. It's actually the gauge error in the Tomcat. So you could have 0 gas, or you could have, 600 pounds or so. But no kidding, we're 32 miles away from Fallon.
Ow.
Just a bag of knots on us, about maybe 14,000 feet or so. So the pilot pulls it back, to idle. Does the zoom climb profile. I think we got up to about 19,000 feet. Quick got the emergency PCL out and read, where we're supposed to go, and just, never left the idle stops. Got up as high as we could, and then just glided all the way into Fallon. But it's, you talk about what's the most scared time you've had in the F-14. That was it, on a nice friendly training hop. That was it, because, you declare an emergency, and, oh yes, it's, F-14, 2 souls on board, less than 5 minutes of fuel remaining. It's kind of like, when you hear that, you're kind of like, everything's real quiet in the jet, but, the engines are still at idle. But I got to hand it, the pilot did a fantastic job.
Awesome.
Held the gear till we were probably maybe a quarter mile when he started to drop the gear. Locked down in place as we crossed the threshold. Touchdown, took a trap, and everything worked out just dandy. We actually flamed out as he was taxiing out of the gear.
Oh, seriously?
The right engine flamed out.
Oh, wow.
But
what was his
no
feed saying?
No foul.
What was his feed? The totalizer is notoriously bad, from what I understand, in the AB. But
he was at the same. So
okay.
Yeah, the feed tanks, the tapes were dropped and nothing. So yeah, he didn't know.
It technically shuts off at 300 pounds, but
so
yeah, that's spooky, man.
It was just a crazy time. And here, you're doing so well right up at the time till you're not. Right?
4v32 will do it to you.
Wait, so what I'm hearing you saying is that was some of the best flying I've ever seen, right up to the time when you knocked it off for fuel.
It's funny too, because you're recording this on the tape, and it just, we played that back and then threw the tape away. It's kind of like, I don't ever want to replay that one again.
Knock it off,
And
fuel.
You have to throw it out. You have to throw it out there.
Bingo.
You have to throw it out there that those 32 adversaries that you went against, those weren't like, new pilots. Those were veteran aggressors, pilots.
Oh yeah.
And
But I mean,
so-
they know the score tool too. It's set up for training, so they're not all coming 32 at once. They're in different divisions.
Yeah, but I'm
set
just
up
saying the skill-
wave after wave.
Yeah, the
But
skill
they're
employed-
qualified pilots. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the skill
Yeah.
employed is all at the same level. Everyone can think the same.
Yeah.
And that's special to even be a part of an engagement like that. It's incredible.
Oh, it's
Oh, it's
incredible
amazing to
training.
me how much money you'd spend on one mission,
Oh,
one
yeah.
training mission. I mean, that's just mind blowing when you think about it. And,
Oh yeah,
what a,
and it's
what
like
a,
it's like a 3-hour brief or something like
Mhm.
that, and then you walk, and the actual tactical portion of that flight is 10 minutes maybe. It's
Yep.
just crazy.
A lot of admin, a lot of TAC admin.
And
See-
then the debrief is like 5 hours.
On Siphon's budget in 06, basically when he'd come off the tanker, he'd get the radio call. Okay, the tanker's the target. Go after him. We're on a budget.
On a budget. Poor guy.
Let's
Poor
kick
guy.
this off with the call sign story, because everybody's going to want to know, why is this guy called Smokehouse? And
Okay.
what is
Oh, I thought you were
the
talking
deal?
about Grapper's call
Yeah.
sign. I couldn't figure that one out.
Yeah. Well, what's so funny about that is our old CO Puke was his call sign. So many people, they have call signs that people don't realize that they're related to their last name. We got Grapper for Jeff Grap. We got Leakster for Jerry Leakey. And, lots of people, you just walk into the squadron and you get a call sign. So when I walked into VF 102, Puke, Commander McLean gave me the call sign of Space Casey, Spacey Casey, space. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I mean, I didn't have a problem with that. But one night there may have been some alcohol involved. We were out on cruise, and I know you're not supposed to have alcohol on a
Never
U.S.
happened.
Naval airfield. No, but somebody brought some. I think it was that other pilot that we were talking about.
Maintenance
Bad
personnel.
influence.
Yeah, the bad influence. And so we were watching this movie, and it was about a blues musician that goes down south to Mississippi, and he meets this guy. Ralph Macchio was in the movie, and he meets this guy, and his name is Smokehouse Brown. So we're pretty well into the movie and enjoying ourselves. And I put on my Ray-Bans and I painted a soul patch on my face. And one of the guys in the room said, "Man, what do they call you?" And I said, they call me Smokehouse. And so the next day, I'm out in the warning area, and the skipper of the squadron is listening to our common frequency. And he hears that, whenever you would get ready, you would save your gas. You'd go up on cap. You'd save your gas until you had enough time left where you could have an engagement. So we're going to do a dog fight before we had to go back and land on the boat. So my buddy, my wingman says, "It's just you and me now, Smokehouse." So we rolled in and we have this dog fight. We come back and we land. Well, the skipper says, "Hey," when we walked into the ready room, he says, "Hey, who's Smokehouse?" He says, "Oh, that's Space." And he absolutely went off on him. Just went off on him. "Don't you call him that. His call sign is Space. Don't you ever call him." And so everybody in the room just kind of was taken aback by, how mad he got. And so Johnny Robusto, our public affairs officer, walks up to me and he says, "Hey, you want me to get you a name tag that says Smokehouse?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So
This is what the JOPA is all about. The JOPA is all about that.
Exactly. So I tell all my buddies what happened, and I say, "Look, whenever Puke is around, call me Smokehouse. Don't call me Space." So I would walk, Puke would come into the wardroom, and we'd be getting ready to eat something, and they would see him, and they would see me, and they'd say, "Hey, Smokehouse, come here, Smokehouse." So you could just see the veins popping out on the sides of his head every time somebody said that. And so it turned into a thing. And so then I started sneaking into the ready room at night, and I would change the greenie board, because the greenie board is a sacred thing where they put your landing grades up there, and they have everybody's call sign next to their landing grades. So I would sneak into the ready room at night, and I would take space down, and I would put up Smokehouse, and then I started taking down Puke, and I would start putting Gerbil up there. And so,
oh no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you know where this is going, right? I don't know if I can say this or not. You guys can probably edit it out. But so I was like, finally he asked me, all right, why are you calling me Gerbil? And I said, because you live up my ass with this Smokehouse thing. So
there's going to have to be some kind of editing in there somewhere. I don't know.
I apologize.
Give me a beep.
So it got to be a really funny thing. And so, for the ship's briefs, they would have the ship closed circuit TV. Next brief starts at 10 o'clock. Next brief starts at 12 o'clock. And so
about the civic brief, right?
Yeah, the civic brief. Yeah, and I bribed the guy in the ship's TV office, and I brought him some T-shirts and some patches, and I said, I want you to put this on the character generator, between briefs. And so it would say, next brief, 10 o'clock, free Smokehouse. Smokehouse lives. So it got to be a huge thing. And
Air wing wide.
Yeah,
didn't he grab your name tag and?
Oh yes, that was so funny. We got into a wrestling match, and he pulled my Smokehouse name tag off, and so I started pulling back, and so we get into a wrestling match. And if he ever hears this podcast, I want him to know that I let him win, because about halfway through, Commander McLean is wrestling with Lieutenant J.G. Casey, and his face is so red and he's out of breath, and I'm thinking, oh, this is not a good idea. So he cuts it up into little pieces, and he puts it up on the bulletin board, and he puts big letters on it. He says, Smokehouse gets gunned in the chutes. And so I took down the pieces and started wearing them around. So then the next time he saw me wearing the pieces, he saw me wearing the pieces of this name tag, he got so fired up, he said, I'm going to send you TAD to the mess decks, okay? If the next time I see you, you better have a Diamondback name tag on. So that night, I snuck into the ready room, and I stole the name tag out of his chair that said CO, and I've still got it. And so I started wearing my Diamondback name tag around that said CO, and he just looked at me, and he just shook his head. He said, oh, no, I just can't deal with this guy. So last bit, because I know this is kind of long, but we had a port call in Monaco. And so we were going through this thing. It was constant. Space, Smokehouse, Space, Smokehouse. So we're in Monaco, and Puke was the only guy that could afford a rental car. And so we go to the bar, and I had been walking with all the JOs had been walking, and had my camera with me. I was taking pictures. And so he had a rental car, and I asked him if I could borrow the keys to put my camera in the trunk so it would stay safe while we were in this bar, because the bar was packed. And so he gave me the keys. I put the camera in the trunk, put the keys back in my pocket. I walked back in. He says, Space, go to the bar and get us a round of drinks. So I go to the bar. I'm standing there, and it's like 7 deep. And so he gave me a wad of money. And so I go to put the money in my pocket, and I feel the keys to the rental car in my pocket with the wad of money.
Oh, no.
And so there was another bad influence that was there with me at the time, and he convinced me to go take the rental car. So we left and didn't come back with the drinks. And we left, and we went to another bar, and we spent all the money drinking there. And then we called him a little later at the bar and said, Puke, this is Smokehouse. There's been a terrible accident. You need to get over here. And I had been talking to the bartender. It was a British pub. And I said, okay, there's a guy that's going to come in a little while, and he's going to be really mad. He's going to come up to me, and he's going to start yelling at me. And when he does that, I want you to call him the gerbil. So the bartender says, Puke comes in, and he's furious. He sees that there hasn't been a wreck, and he comes up to me, and he's just red-faced. And the bartender says, oh, you must be the one they call the gerbil.
The gerbil.
The gerbil. Why not leave the flying to these young dudes? You're too old for this. So that's how Smokehouse came about. Puke says I'm the only guy in the Navy, in the history of the Navy, that ever got his own call sign, but he gave me the call sign. So sorry, that was a long story.
Well, they say that call signs are the thing you're going to most resist. That's the one that's going to stick. Or in this case, if the XOC most resist, right?
That was exactly what it was. That was exactly what it was.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
To this day, I don't know how it's not one of the most famous things that happened during the war, because it was awesome.
Well, because it was top secret. Well, I just started talking smack to the Iraqis with one of my famous accents. And I came up on guard frequency as we were coming in for the first strike of the war. And I told them in my best Iraqi accent that you have 3 choices. You can stay and die, you can turn and run, or you can poop in your pants. And I edited that for you guys. And so
on guard.
Of course, I'm sure love that.
And I didn't realize what a huge stink that would cause, because when we came back and landed, the intel guys were going nuts. And I was laughing. One of them was living in the 8-man with us, or in the JO bunk room.
The bunk room.
And, and we were laughing about me saying that, and he just went high warble. That was you? Oh my gosh! So I got a copy of the top secret message of the Iraqi pilots threatening American pilots.
There's this message that came out, top secret from the Air Force. Oh, we've been monitoring their radio, and they're coming up and saying horrible things on the radio. So don't let it intimidate you. And you're just laughing because we know it's Smokehouse.
Stay and die, turn and run, or poop in your pants.
Did you throw in the word pig dog in there somewhere at least?
No, maybe I might have.
Durka, pig dog.
Durka.